Okay, here we go. Erev Shavuos. I think, I didn't get a confirmation, just a public service announcement. I think Rabbi Akiva Goldberg is trying to round up any of the Kinyan Chaver from all the Chaburas. Erev Yontif, a half hour before Yontif, in Rabbi Reidel's shul. Shtieble Kinyan to walk into Yontif, Dailam, whoever wants to come to learn together. I don't know the exact timing. I think there are probably a few minutes before us. So probably be maybe 35 minutes before our mincha. So anyone who's ready for Yontif on time, feel free. We'll send out precise timing and Nacha Taira to enter into the Heilige Yontif. So for now, we're holding on Chavav Amid Aleph. We're at the two dots, approximately 12 lines from the white lines. And my last public service announcement is that everyone should be mechazik everyone else, even people that a shtickle fell out. Now is the time to get back in the chazara, nacha chazara. So, give a friend some love and encourage them to get back on board if they've been a little bit derailed. But for the moment, let's get going. Zok the Heilige Gemara. V'kama achila zarai. What are you looking for? What do you need, Avram? What do you need? Your Gemara. Why would someone steal your Gemara? Oh, Tazai. Look at that. V'kama achila zarai. Says the Gemara. How much is achila zarai? Amar Rav Yosef. And again, we're going to be a dot faster. If it's too fast for anyone, just holler. V'kama achila zarai. Amar Rav Yosef. Tarti oitlas bei. 2 or 3 eggs. Amar le Abayo. Says Abayo. It's diet season. There are times that 2 or 3 eggs is enough. Maishnu, 2 or 3 eggs is enough. What does the trainer let you eat?
It's always diet season.
Nevada. Maish, not with us. We lost him. Okay. No. But either way, frakta bayo. Sometimes 2-3 eggs is enough. Vavli sudas keva. Elam Rabbi says another shot. Kiditaim, like one tastes. Who tastes? Barbi Rav, yeshiva student Vailu Lekala, as he's entering to Shir, before Shir, on the way in, Yachab a little snack. That's the amount you're allowed to eat outside of the sukkah. So of machlaikas, what are the 2 opinions? Either 2 or 3 eggs, or the amount that a person eats on the way to a Shir. Rashi says, how much is that? You fill up your mouth, malei piv v'shaisa, a little quick drink. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan, we're 8 lines from the white lines in Chavav Amid Aleph. The first one in line is Tanu Rabbanan. Tanu Rabbanan, Oichle, Machilas Arai, Chutz L'Sukkah. One is allowed, this one's cold, that one's hot. Don't go for hot seltzer, not cool. Oichle, Machilas Arai, Chutz L'Sukkah. You're allowed to eat temporarily out of the sukkah. But here's that bombshell line. You're not allowed to sleep temporarily outside of a sukkah. My time of us nished. Why not? If you could eat temporarily out of the sukkah, why are you sleeping worse? Amar Rav Ashi, teretz number 1. Gezira shema yirdam. When you eat a little bit, we don't have to be worried. Maybe we should have to be worried in the world where we live in. But we're not. But when you sleep a little bit, we all know what happens. Before you know it, it's the next day. You might fall into a deep sleep. Amar le Abayo, ask the Abayo. So you're telling me that there's a gezeira. Anytime you take a nap, you might fall into deep sleep. Allah Titani, we learned in a brayso. Yoshin Adam Shinas Arai b'tefillin. You're allowed to sleep temporarily with your tefillin. Avalei Shinas Keva, but not a full sleep. Asks Abaye why? Lech Hashem Yerdam, aren't we afraid you're going to fall into deep sleep? Amar Rav Yosef Reid Rav Eloi, b'maiser Shinas Achim. The reason why you're allowed to sleep in your tefillin on nap, because someone else is going to wake you up. You have a shomer, as we call it. In other
words, by sukkah, you'll be fine too, right?
In other words, you're asking a very good question. Because by sukkah, we're not really following through. Rav Zish is asking a very good question. We said, now it could be that it is the same din, but the Gemara doesn't follow it through. What did the Gemara say? Let's just play out the progression. Gemara says in a sukkah, you're not allowed to take a nap outside the sukkah. Why not? You might fall into deep sleep. Says the Gemara. So why by tefillin aren't we worried you can fall into deep sleep? Answers the Gemara, because by tefillin, you're going to have a shomer who's going to wake you up. for Hector Zish. So why don't we say the same thing by Sukkah? So it could be, if this teretz were to have stayed at the end of the day, could be Ein Achanami. Could be an achanami, and l'maisa lahalacha, we are pretty forgiving, and we do allow a shemer. But the Gemara has a very interesting problem, as you pointed out last time, that maskiv l'Ramesharshia arvacha arva tzarich. Why does it help? So according to the way the Ramesharshia is asking the kasha, is that it won't help, because your guarantor needs a guarantor, your shemer needs a shemer. Now, why that is true, and we all know in halacha that's not true. We all know we have to count sphere next amount of minutes. So let's say right now, I wanted to sit down to a big fat meal. I'm not allowed to sit down to a meal right now. Why not? Because when you're within a half hour of the mitzvah of counting sphira, you're not allowed to start a suda. So what's the answer? How would I be allowed? I would have a shemer. I would tell someone, remind me. Maybe the shemer is going to forget. Okay, good. Kasha. Answers the Gemara. Elamar Rabbi Yechanan Rabbi Yechanan. The reason why by tefillin you're allowed to take a nap is you're napping in a way that you're not going to end up falling into deep sleep. Which of Zish, you could ask your same question now. So what about by sukkah? So l'chayra, with a big l'chayra, the answer is in a chanami. If you want to take a nap out of your sukkah, what's the answer? Put your head between your legs. You're not going to fall into a deep sleep according to the first teretz. But Rava, Mar comes along Rava, and says, Rava, ein keva l'shina. There's no such thing. Even a nap at times is all you need. So says Rava, that's why. So according to the teretz of Rava, nothing else works. Because according to the teretz of Rava, you know why you can't take a nap outside of the sukkah? Because a nap might be enough. Whereas when it comes to tefillin, it's a different din, two different dinim. Continues the Gemara, Tani Chada. We learned it one brayso. Yashin Adam mitfilin, Shinas Arai, Avaloy Shinas Keva. V'tani Idach brayso number 2. Bein Keva bein Arai. V'tani Idach brayso number 3. Loy Keva v'loy Arai. 3 ways to Hira. Loy Kasha. Hadinak lubi yadei. One is when you're holding it in your hand, and therefore which case is that? Holding in your hand. You're not allowed to do anything. Why not? Very good. That's case C. Case 3. Why not? Why not? Rav Shashi, what do you say? Very good. Which is the irony, if you were to ask anyone who didn't learn this Gemara, what's worse? Holding your tefillin when you're napping or wearing them? Everyone would say, wearing them. Hashem Yerachem. You're wearing your tefillin and you're sleeping. It's true. But we're seeing that there's another detail you have to worry about. You might drop your tefillin. So if you're holding your tefillin in your hand, can't do anything. Answer number 1. When it's on your head, what's the halacha? No deep sleep? Yes, nap. Case number 1. One is when you spread a handkerchief over it. That is case number 2. You're allowed to do anything. And that's referring to it's not on your head. You take it off, you put it on the pillow next to you, you cover it over, and then you're allowed to do whatever you want, take a long nap, sleep for the whole night, etc. Obviously, they didn't have fancy night tables, and obviously they didn't have anything, and they wore their tefillin all day. So someone needs to go to sleep. What does he do? It's nighttime. He takes them off and he puts it next to his pillow. And doesn't mean he has to do that. It means in a situation he's allowed to. Says the Gemara. Okay. Little bit of a segue we have for a moment. How much is a Shinas Arai? Tachlis. But Kama Shinas Arai, says the Gemara. Tani Rami Rei Chazgol. The amount to walk 100 amos, approximately 150, 200 feet, which we said is not a very long amount of time. Tananami Now we have a raya that a temporary nap is the amount of time to walk meya amma. We're on the last line of Chavav Amud Aleph. What's the raya? Says the raya say Yoshim tefillin. So it sleeps in his tefillin v'ra'ah carry. And he has to carry a mission. What's the halacha? The first part of this brisa is completely random, has nothing to do with anything. Well, it has to do with everything, but it's not. It's not what we're talking about. What should you do? You hold on to the ritzuais. Because at this moment you're tamei. Someone who sees scary, someone who has a seminal emission, lemaisa is tamei. Therefore, you can't touch your tefillin. Divrei Rabbi Yankiv. And here's the line we're looking for. To what we just said. Amar Rav, says Rav, continuing the theme of a nap. Also, says Rav, you can't take a nap during the day more the amount of time that a horse sleeps. How long is that? Shitin nishmi 60 breaths. Amar Rabaya, Shinsa Damar, the nap of his Rabbi, Rabbi Rav Chvedi, is Kidarav, the Rav Kidarabi, the Rabbi Kidavid, the David Kidasosiye, Udasosiye is horse Shitin Nishmin. Story time. Abaye Havinaim, a little bit of a chizik for all of us. Abaye Havinaim, Abaye was sleeping, Kidamab Babadisi Lebe Kuvi, the amount of time it took to go from Babadisi Lebe Kuvi, which is obviously longer than Shitin Nishmin. Longer than 60 breaths. Karli Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, Abaya, you lazy man. Ad Mosai Otzel Tishkav. How long is the lazy one going to rest? Mosai Talka Mishnah Secha. When are you going to get up? So, one thing you see, and as much as the Gemara is saying how much one should not nap during the day, Abaya, Lamaisa took a little bit of a longer nap, a little bit of chizik for all of us. Tana Rabbanan. Are we all good? Everyone's good? Good? Givaldi. Taner Rabbanan. About 10 lines down, the first one line is Mishnah Secha. Taner Rabbanan nechlas isha b'yoyim. Someone who goes to sleep by day, and he's wearing his tefillin. So back to the tefillin discussion. Ratzah chayleit, if you want to take them off. Ratzah miniach, if you want to leave them on. But ba'layla chayleit, you must take them off. V'ena miniach divrei Rabbi Nassan. Opinion number 1. By day, you're allowed to leave them on, but not at night. Rav Yosi Omer. Hayiladim literally means the children, but we're going to see it doesn't mean little kids. La'ilam chaltzim. Always have to take off their tefillin. Can't leave them on. Why? Because the ragol to become tameh. At this point, what do we think this means? We think this means is that one who's not married might come to have a carry emission at night, and therefore he should not wear his tefillin. So says the Gemara, Lema Kasavar Rav Yosi. Does Rav Yosi really hold about carry aslan yech tefillin? Is that true? So what's the kasha? Why not? Maybe he holds that. So Rashi points out, because this is a shaila all over Shas, and nowhere in Shas do we say a kavaldik araya. We have Rav Yosi who says the answer to our question. So that's why the Gemara assumes that it's not klar. Amar Abaya says, "Abaya, you know what's going on over here? What does Yeladim mean?" Says Abaya, it doesn't mean a little kid. But Yeladim unashaseyam imahen. We're talking about a Yeladim, talking about a bacher, but his wife is with him askinon. So the reason why he should not be sleeping with his tefillin is because he might end up being together with his wife, and therefore he cannot be together with his wife in his tefillin. So now we're seeing an entire shift into what this Brisa is talking about. The Brisa began, and the Brisa said, you're allowed to wear your tefillin by day, but not by night. Rav Yosi said, the Yeladim should never wear them. So we didn't know what that meant. Now we're understanding what that meant is a person, a young married guy, when he's with his wife, shouldn't wear them. So what's the chiddush? Chiddush being he doesn't plan on sleeping with his wife, but considering they are in the same room, we'll call it, therefore he should not be wearing his tefillin. Tana Rabbanan, and now as he direct segue, says the Gemara, Shachach, let's say in that case, or in any case, one is wearing his tefillin and he's sleeping, V'shavash mitas tefillin, and he makes a mistake, ends up being together with his wife, and they slept together wearing their tefillin. What's the halacha? Einay oiches loy b'ritzua, loy b'ktzitza. So this is a little bit of a higher level. Before we saw on the top of the Amid that if one is Raya Keri, we said he shouldn't hold on to the tefillin himself, he should hold on to the ritzuos. Here we're seeing that if one had actual relations with their wife, he should hold neither the straps, the ritzuos are the straps, loy b'ktzitza nor the tefillin, ad she'itel yadav, until you wash your hands, because one's hands are tamei, which we'll see in a moment, the yitzleim, and then take off your tefillin. Why? Says the Gemara, because your hands move around, and we're assuming that your hands touched an unclean area during one's sleep, and that's the reason why you should take off the tefillin after washing the hands. So to give a very quick review of this last, we just did almost a little more than an amid. Just the very quick review is we began learning how much is achilas harai. 2-3 eggs versus the amount that a student eats. Then we went into how much is a shina sarai and the difference between a shina sarai and a chila sarai. The first opinion was you might fall into deep sleep. We try to figure out how is that different than tefillin. The second answer is no, sleep, any amount of sleep is good enough for you. We had multiple brises about how much sleep you could have in your tefillin. We learned a fascinating din that when you're holding your tefillin, we have to be afraid you might dropping it. If you're wearing your tefillin, then you can take a nap. But if it's off your head next to you, then you could sleep properly. And finally, we concluded with this Shina Sarai. How long is a Shina Sarai? Fascinating story with Abaye that he slept a little bit more than a Shina Sarai. And ultimately concluding that if one ends up sleeping in his tefillin, and he is together with his wife, what should he do? That by day, he should not be wearing his tefillin, and night, he's allowed to, we're learning. And if he ends up being together with his wife, he should be careful not to touch them until he washes his hands. B'siyat Shemaya, from the Mishnah, we'll continue Chazara, the plan. I mean, the plan is to Chazar as much as everyone could over Yantif. We're going to Chazar here at night.
How could he have forgotten?
Yeah, good kasha. Like what's going on? But I guess the answer is we have to reorient ourselves with a world that they wear tefillin 24 hours a day. So we don't it's almost like you're yarmulke. Sometimes you can forget you're wearing yarmulke. There's nothing wrong. You're allowed to wear yarmulke all day. I'm just saying, you don't always know it's on your head. So that's what tefillin was to them, believe it or not. The plan is, the plan is, first, let's chaz the last 2.5 blot of the barak, and halavai over Shavuos, both at night and by day, chazer the whole barak at least once. Should we set a goal for ourselves? No, Menachem, you want to set a goal for the chevra? For the whole Shavuos, not just Shavuos night. For the whole Shavuos night, what's the goal? Shavuos night, we're doing the whole parak. Menachem says, okay. Okay. What Menachem? We're starting after I speak. We're going to start as much as we could. After I speak, I'm speaking at what time?